Hi, my name is Carmelita and welcome to my channel. I basically will just be talking about industrial organizational psychology and clinical mental health counseling because I'm a student in both fields. So I'm getting my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling and my PhD in industrial organizational psychology. And I already have a master's in industrial organizational psychology. So basically, just to talk about that for a second, a lot of people don't know what industrial organizational psychology is. So it's basically the study of human behavior in the workplace. So we could study turnover rates, we could study job satisfaction, consumer satisfaction, consumer behavior, different things like that. Talent management, selection, recruitment, placement, all of those things. Anything that has to do with people in the workplace is basically what we study. Clinical mental health counseling is what pops into everybody's head when you think about psychology. It's basically therapy. You are doing counseling with people. And so I'm getting my master's degree in that. And I'm doing both programs at the same time, which is intensive. This is my second year. And so next year I'm halfway through my second year now. So next year will be my internship year for my clinical program, and will be my third year for my PhD program. So basically, I just want to talk about the two, and a lot of people ask me, like, how do they relate? So first of all, they're both psychology based. So I can apply different theories to both fields. Like I can apply cognitive behavioral theory to clinical psychology, and I can apply it to industrial organizational psychology, and I can apply psychoanalytic even to both fields. Since it's both psychology based, the theories are the exact same. It's just different in how you apply them. So there's a lot of similarities with how you approach things. Like an industrial organizational psychologist might be brought in as a consultant to fix a problem. A counselor might be brought in to help a client fix a problem. So obviously they're both pretty different in terms of how they do that, because an IO psychologist, the client is usually the organization or an executive, and they need help with something organization related, whereas a counselor would be brought in to handle more mental health type stuff. So I just kind of want to compare and contrast my two programs. So for clinical, my program is very hands-on. We do a lot of lab work with each other. We do a lot of role plays, and we do a lot of research because you can't really apply any intervention if it's not evidence-based. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be smart to do. You want to do evidence-based interventions, and to do that, you need to read the research, you need to know what's out there, what's available. So both programs require you to know how to read research. The difference, though, is with IO psychology, with the PhD level, obviously, you're conducting research. So it's very important for you to not only be able to read it and interpret it and apply it, but to also do it. Very, very different. The clinical program is a Master's of Arts program, so basically you're focusing on applying your skills to the field. How do you apply this intervention, and how can I apply it to different clients? So that's why we do a lot of practicing. We do a lot of role plays. We have residency, and we have residency 1 and 2, which you do in your year 1 and year 2, and then you have your internship. And the program is CARECREP accredited, so we follow everything by CARECREP standards. And then for IO psychology, my program is so different because it is so heavily research-based. I mean, they both are research-based, but this program is very much research-based because, like I said, it's a PhD, so they are teaching you how to be the scientist who's writing the research, and practicing your own research studies and applying your research to theories that already exist. And that's more difficult to do than, well, I guess it's kind of difficult, but kind of not difficult. There are certain theories that might just pop into your head because those are theories that like really stuck out to you or that you just get better than the other theories. But those are the theories that are going to pop in your head. But other theories that you might not be so familiar with, it might be harder to draw into your own research. But yeah, so basically the two programs are very different because the IO program is very focused on us kind of being our own pilots, kind of. We have teachers, of course, and they guide us, but they want us to be able to figure out how you would apply this to a business, or how you would approach a business or an executive with this, and how would you present the data to an executive, and then what would you do with it. And what if the executive is a very stubborn executive who does not want to change any of their ways? How do you get around that? Is there a way that you can improve the company, get them what they want without, causing that kind of conflict? And the thing that was hard for me to get used to at first was the ambiguity, because sometimes the assignments would tell you to do certain things, and I felt like I needed more information. And I approached one of my professors about that, and she said, that's how it is in the field. In IO psychology, you are brought into organizations and they will give you half the story or part of the story or what they think the problem is, and it might not be the problem at all, and it's your job to figure it out. So that was hard for me to get used to, because when you're in school for your whole life and you're told what to do and this is how you do it, and they want to see you if you can do it, it's different from, here's like part of a problem. What are you going to do? And just going from there. And really what they want to know is how you make decisions, and can you support your decision making processes with research, with theory. Is it evidence-based? And it's kind of like clinical, but in a different kind of a way, because it's a different field, but they're still pretty similar. So going back to my programs, they're both pretty intense. And of course, because they are graduate level courses, they are graduate level programs, but my classes are all online. I do, for my clinical program, we do have residency, which is on ground, where you meet with your peers and your faculty, and you basically are practicing role plays and learning techniques and things like that, and helping the younger students too, by giving them feedback on their role plays. But most of it's online, and with that comes a lot of responsibility, because you have to be able to do time management very, very well, especially being in two programs. And I also work part-time, so I'm pretty much busy a lot of the time. But I think time management is really important, because if it weren't for me planning out what I'm going to do for each day, then it would be, chaotic. And I think I started both programs at the exact same time. So going into both programs with that mindset of I need to organize everything made me start out strong throughout the program, and I've been continuing with that. So I think it's doable. If you ever feel like, I want to get, to do two graduate programs at once, then that's one way to go about it. Another thing that people ask me sometimes is like, why do these two programs, and how can you apply it? And the one thing that I have learned is that a lot of clinical psychologists actually do go into IO psychology, and a lot of IO psychologists have a clinical background because they have other degrees and other experience. And so some of my professors are actually also licensed therapists, and some of my professors are clinical psychologists. And some of them are just IO psychologists and have just that as their background. So with IO psychology, you can go into research. One of my professors researches with a medical college, which I didn't even know we could do, but you can, as long as you have, the research experience. And so there's that one. There's also one of my professors was head of a department for mental health. I forgot where it was, but it had to do with like clinical counseling, and she was head of the department for that. And like I said, she had therapy background and she has a PhD in IO psychology. And some people just choose to focus on the therapy portion, and then there are some people who choose to focus on the IO psychology portion. Right now, I'm thinking that it just depends on where things go. I think there's a lot of need around where I live. There's a lot of need for mental health professionals, and there's a lot of need for industrial organizational professionals. So it really just depends on where I end up. But I think ideally I would want a job where I can marry the two fields. If I can't do that, then I'll just do two jobs because I'm used to working multiple jobs. And so that doesn't bother me. So basically that's all I wanted to talk about today. If you have any comments or questions, then comment or ask the question. And please don't forget to subscribe. I will try to put out a new video every Monday because that is the one day that I am off from work and have the most time. Thanks.